First order of business tonight is the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have anybody from EAM here today? Mr. Powell, would you do me the honor? And then Mr. Varela will lead us in the pledge.
Dear Lord, we are happy to have you with us tonight. As we gather, we live in a world that has a lot of turmoil, a lot of drama, and we ask that you work to try to bring people together, to try to do away with prejudice, to try to accept people for what they are, what their character is, and not what they do or how much money they have. And we ask you to be with council tonight as we make decisions on how to spend money and how to handle policies, and help guide us and help us be focused on the things we're voting for, and always vote for what we think is best for the community. And I ask this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Thank you, Mr. Varela. Okay, roll call. If everybody's here, Gloria, please let the record show. You're still here, Matt, right?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So noted.
We're not there exactly.
Mayor McFarland, the minutes that we have to look at tonight, I move we accept for the record the City Council regular meeting minutes from July 2nd and the City Council special meeting minutes from July 2nd as presented, in that we accept for the record the Airport Advisory Board minutes from April 24th, the Police Personnel Retirement Board from March 13th, and the Police Personnel Retirement Board from April 4th as reported.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Claims against the city, D1.
Mayor McFarland, I move for approval of claims against the city from June 22nd to July 10th as presented.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to pay our bills. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
Okay. All right. Next item then is the meeting agenda. Larry, any changes to the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, just one point of clarification. Under presentations, we do have, there was an amendment to the agenda that was sent out on Friday. We have added a presentation by Mr. Palmer Miller, who is here this evening, and want to make sure that everyone's aware of that.
It goes under item F, right?
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other changes? Okay. All right. With that notice of change on item F, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
So move. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sorry, Matt, I got to wait for you.
No problem.
Okay, then the first item on the agenda is special presentations, item F. Mr. Miller?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, City Council. Thank you, the City of Casa Grande, for allowing residents to come up and speak in front of you at all times. Most of you know who I am. I'm Palmer Miller. I've been a resident of this city since 1996. And in 2001, I retired from the United States Army after 23 years. My wife and I, Sharon, we raised our youngest son, who's now currently in active duty for the Marine Corps. But today I stand here proudly as a resident of Casa Grande, as a veteran, and as an artist. These last 15 years, I've truly, truly been blessed because I have been able to work with the many veterans and their families of Casa Grande, the many residents who have passion and compassion and dedication to improving the lives in this city. I have truly been blessed, and I thank you. I worked with veterans from all eras. I've worked for World War II and Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, the current wars, and everything in between. You will be surprised of all the stories that I've been privileged to here in Casa Grande, from the very heroic individuals who really just tell me this: Palmer, I didn't do anything special. I just did my job. I just did my job. Here in Casa Grande, we have longtime residents, and I automatically think of a good Marine, Mr. Bob Brutinel, who served in World War II on the island of Iwo Jima. I also remember my friend Billy Bell, who went to war in Korea and came home with one arm. I also have a friend that I miss a lot, and his name is Fogey. And we all know who Fogelberg, he goes by Fogey. Him and his wife was tremendous in the advocacy, and they had many dogs that they would take to the hospital and take them around, their service dogs. He was a World War II veteran. He served in the Pacific. The city recently lost a good friend, a good Marine. He was my friend. His name is Mr. Robert Delsey. Now, Robert was wounded in both of his legs when he served in Vietnam. He was on patrol, and he was shot in the bushes and laid out there for a day or so. But when he came home, he came back to Casa Grande, and he made his living here. He raised his family here. He retired. And then he started honoring our veterans. And like most here, they have those necklaces. Most of them were made from Robert Delsey. And I miss that man a lot. I will say that I was very honored before, a year or two before his death. I had the privilege and honor of submitting that man's application to the Arizona Veterans Hall of Fame, which he became a member of the Arizona Veterans Hall of Fame. And we have another one here, a good friend, Mr. Jim Sylvester, who's also members of that. We as a city also remember Barney White. Barney White was the first committee person for the Veterans Day Parade here, and I was on that committee. There are many, I suspect, each one of you have stories of your family, your friends, or yourself who may have served, or you may have known somebody who lived down the street. And I can't be remiss if I don't talk about the 10 names on a plaque, on a stone boulder at the Reed Mashore Park. Those young men all died in Vietnam. And that boulder and the memorial was created by a good friend. They all went to high school together. What I'm trying to get at is this. The city of Casa Grande is a unique city. And we have some very, very unique individuals in this city. And that's what makes the city of Casa Grande great. A few years back, I told Mayor Jackson, I said, this city is so important to our veterans and their families. And our veterans and our families are so important to you. And I totally agree with that. I'd like to present something to the city. If I could have Mr. Ralph Varela and the mayor come down here, please. As an artist, for the last 10 years, I've been doing a lot of paintings honoring our veterans because, most of the paintings I do are actually inspirations from those veterans when I sit down and talk with them. And I'd like to present and I'd like to gift this painting, this original painting that I did, and to the city of Casa Grande. And I would like to have it dedicated to all our veterans in this city, both young and old, past and present, and the future. This one I did a few years back, and it's called Boots on the Ground. Now, whether you're in the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, there's something we all wear, and that's boots. And we all have that in common. And boots on the ground means we are doing our mission. We are accomplishing our mission. We are successful. You have a lot of veterans in this city who are still, not in uniform, but they're still accomplishing their mission. So I'd like to present this and to the mayor and to Ralph and to the city, to the council, and to say thank you again for allowing me for these last 15 years to take part of this city. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. No pressure. Thank you to Palmer Miller, and Palmer will definitely put that in a prominent location here in City Hall. Thank you for dedicating it to all the veterans, and thank you to all of our veterans. So we do appreciate you all, and probably don't say it enough, but thank you.
And, Mayor, before we move on, I did want to also, you're right, we do have a great community with great people that serve and veterans, and, but Palmer, you've been that consistent voice and advocate, and there are so many people that are doing that job, but, when people think veterans and veterans issues, your name always comes up, so, we sincerely appreciate your commitment to the community and to the veterans of this community.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Lisa. Okay. All right, so we'll move to item G, which is our consent agenda items. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine matters and will be enacted by one motion and one roll call vote of the council. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or member of the public so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence. Does anybody have anything you want to pull off?
Good.
Okay. All right, hearing none, then we'll do a roll call vote on this one, right? We need a motion, though. Motion and a second?
Move to approve.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Varela.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harmon.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. Okay, so they're all approved. Item H is public comments. This we have an opportunity to open the floor and allow anyone who would like to address the council an opportunity. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes and give us your name and your address when you approach the lectern. Anyone?
Couldn't resist.
Good morning, Mayor, or good morning. Good evening, Mayor and Council. John McGuire, 941 East Penny Lane. Haven't spoken in front of you for several meetings. Doesn't mean I haven't had things on my mind, of course. But when I wanted to kind of tie into the study sessions of tonight, along with some of the things that I presented as my ideas to the council on several occasions, and bring up one specific item. We're talking about, shopping local is the last piece of the puzzle here, and I'm a big supporter of that as much as I can. Can I say I never shop on Amazon? Nope, especially on a day like today. It's Amazon Prime Day, right? So we definitely bought a few things when it's, that good of a deal. But I do believe in that concept. One thing I want to add, though, is you've heard me come up here and speak on many occasions about the image and the beautification of the city and things like that. My belief is that if we can make shopping local more of an experience that people enjoy and can combine a nice dinner with a shopping experience, et cetera, in the old downtown area, we'll be more successful at that. I've been spending a lot of time in the Southeast Valley lately, and both downtown Chandler and downtown Gilbert, I don't know if you've been up to either of them lately, but they've done an amazing job in both of those downtowns. And I know we have Main Street and Rena's group, and they do a great job, and they work very hard, and the Neon Sign Park is going to be a great addition. Hope to get an update on that pretty soon, I believe. But maybe we as a city can combine some of my ideas with that type of a project where we can get that downtown to really be someplace people want to go, and really, not just shop local because we're supposed to shop local, but because they want to shop local and be local and enjoy that experience when they're here in our city shops. And it's not only downtown, but other areas as well. And along those lines, I came across a video just accidentally about a month ago, and I did post it on chat, and some of you may have seen it or not. But if you recall, about 18 months ago, we spent about $150,000 on a consultant to do an evaluation of Pert Park and Pert Square, and there's this really impressive computer-generated image video online right now of what they hope our Pert Square would look like. But yet I haven't heard anything about that, and my understanding that I have found out is that we spent this money on the consultant, and now we don't have the money to complete the project. That's really frustrating to me. That video is an amazing looking thing, and it's just such a great thing for that park. And it goes along with its whole economic development and image enhancement and the whole thing. So I don't like it when we see projects get started and then don't get completed. And I know Councilmember Fitzgibbons has mentioned this on numerous occasions, that this does happen too often here, and I'm agreeing with her on this one in particular. But hopefully we can combine some of these things. I just want to get up here and keep reiterating my ideas to you, and hopefully some of them take hold. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, then we'll close the floor and move on to item I, award of contracts, I-1. Kevin?
Thank you. Staff recommends that the mayor and city council authorize the city manager to execute a purchase agreement with Empire Southwest in an amount not to exceed $1.1 million for the purchase of the 836K landfill compactor to be used for the city's solid waste operation. Sanitation Division currently is using a 2009 Caterpillar 386H compactor to consolidate and densify our solid waste at our landfill. In 2013, after 10,000 hours of service, the machine was refurbished. We gave it a second life, and now this piece of equipment is at the end of that second life. And we did work with Empire Southwest and evaluated the current piece of equipment and are not recommending a third life. We are going to be recommending disposal of that piece of equipment and purchasing a new compactor. Throughout this process, we looked at what were our opportunities for disposing of this piece of equipment, and they're allowing $125,000 towards the purchase of the new piece of equipment for getting rid of the old piece of equipment. Another component of this purchase is a total maintenance and repair service that we're purchasing, and that's at $185,000. And what we did with that is it will cover the entire life of this piece of equipment, 5 years or 10,000 hours, and cover all maintenance, both preventative and any repairs that are needed throughout that 5 years, 10,000 hours. And when we look at the history from our current compactor, we've spent just under $500,000 for both lives of that piece of equipment on maintenance and repairs. So when we look at that, it does pencil out as a good deal for what we see as potential total costs. We did budget $1.1 million in this year's budget for this project, so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So Kevin, that's a $125,000 trade-in, basically?
Correct.
On the old one? Okay.
Plus we have a little credit too.
Yeah, we did have a service credit with Empire, and they're allowing us to transfer that to this new piece of equipment.
Mr. Powell?
Well, I would just say this is probably the most expensive thing I've purchased as a council member, but as John mentioned, we've got a city to take care of. Part of that is buying the pieces of equipment when we need it. If we had to go out and buy a new place to have trash delivered to and compacted, it would be way more expensive than what this is. So
Not much you can do.
I shiver, but I don't, but I can hold my hand up and say yes, so.
Don't shiver.
Don't shiver.
Anybody else have any? Yeah, Mary?
I agree, this is probably the most expensive piece of equipment I've also done. And it does speak to the most basic duty that we have as a council, and it's public safety and well-being. And we need to meet these needs first and hopefully have enough resources to look to more recreational and other niceties and things for people to enjoy. But taking a look at this, and I applaud you that this is a piece of equipment that's already been refurbished, and so to see the city and actually your department, Kevin, to make those efforts to get the most and squeeze the most out of a piece of equipment, we always appreciate that, and hopefully we've got another 15 years on this one. Oh.
Well, the first service life is going to be 5 years or 10,000
Okay.
hours, and then we'll evaluate it at that time and make a decision on what the next step is.
Very good. Well, thank you.
Any other comments from anybody?
Mayor
Matt?
McFarland?
Yes, sir.
I just want to tell Kevin, thank you for rebuilding that first one. You know, I'm a big proponent of that. And I'm just glad to see we did it. And now it's time to buy a new one. So, thank you.
Anybody else?
No.
Okay. Seeing no more questions, thank you, Kevin. I'll call for an ordinance number on I-1.
Ordinance number 3085, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a bid from Empire Southwest LLC for the purchase of a 2018 Caterpillar 836K landfill compactor, authorizing the expenditure of public funds in an amount not to exceed $1,100,000, and authorizing the execution of a contract with or purchase order to Empire Southwest LLC.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of ordinance number 3085 as it was presented.
Second?
Before we go on, too, I want to make note that Empire Southwest is a local company, by the way, so.
Right up your alley.
Yep,
Yes.
so that's good.
Big way.
All right, can I get a roll call vote, please, Gloria?
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortzen.
Yes.
Councilmember Vadela.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. Okay, item I2, consider resolution authorizing execution of an intergovernment agreement.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Mayor and council, thank you for this time. I'm going to read from this document I have up here in front of me. I don't really like doing that, but this is really important, and I want to make sure I don't miss anything. I brought Detective Linehan with me, and he'll be
Good evening.
the person who's going to be answering the questions because of how technical this is. I'm not as familiar as he would be. So the Casa Grande Police Department requests authorization from Mayor and Council to enter into an intergovernmental agreement between the Phoenix Police Department, which is our primary grantee, Arizona Internet Crimes Against Children, referred to as ICAC, that's a task force, and the Casa Grande Police Department. The purpose of this IGA is to memorialize parties' agreement to work together. Now, the ICAC task force is a national network of state and local law enforcement investigative units. The national ICAC program assists law enforcement investigative agencies in the development of an effective response to cases involving images depicting the sexual exploitation of minors and the sexual assault and abuse of children facilitated by technology. Detectives from the Casa Grande Police Department will have the ability to work with affiliates of the ICAC task force. This ICAC task force will complement our investigative abilities by increasing our investigative capabilities, which include the effectiveness and efficiency of law enforcement officers in the detection, investigation of offenses, apprehension of offenders, and successful prosecution. The Phoenix Police Department and ICAC Task Force may also be able to provide financial assistance to affiliate agencies such as ourselves through non-matching grants, which is something, as I've been here many times before, something we seek after. If the opportunity arises, the Casa Grande Police Department is requesting authorization to move forward with the applying and acceptance of grant monies in accordance with city policy and procedural guidelines or procurement guidelines, authorization to disperse funds, and authorization for budget transfers. There is no expense for the Casa Grande Police Department to join the ICAC task force, and any grants that become available will follow the procurement guidelines. So with that said, any questions on what I read?
You did very well.
I hope I didn't read too fast.
Mr. Powell?
I think it's a wonderful program, and it's very refreshing that it's free after the one we just had before that. But as I say, I think that you guys are expanding the things you do, and you're going to get grants and finding out things that we can be part of. So I congratulate you on this. I think it's a good move.
Thank you, sir.
Donna?
I'm not going to ask you a technical question today, but I do want to mention that, we talk about there's not a cost involved per se to be part of this, but there is a cost involved if we do not be part of this. And so I think that, from the standpoint of the police department being proactive, I think it's really important, because if people think that sex trafficking and exploitation of minors are not happening in our city, in our county, we're wrong. And so I applaud the police department by being involved in this, and I hope that, that we can lend as much to this as being part of it, because I think our department has a lot to offer for this task force as well, so.
It is, and crime is changing. The internet has taken over a lot of traditional type roles that we used to investigate, so it's become very complicated, and the level of expertise and the training involved is very difficult, especially for someone like myself who's not very technically savvy, but Detective Linehan, he's pretty good, and we have a lot of our detectives who just are, they're into that, for lack of a better term. You know, they understand the computers and how that works, and along with millennials, young officers. So it's really working out for us, and have this resource available to us where we can reach out to anybody in the country who's part of this task force to assist us. Because not everything's here in Casa Grande. Some of this might originate in Florida and somehow touch base here, which we've had instances like that.
Yes.
So, you know, it does touch us.
Yeah, I was going, and building on that is the idea is, unfortunately, a lot of these types of crimes are serial crimes, and they're committed by organized groups, and they only can get identified if we have this well-rounded participation. And like you say, you brought up with, nationwide and that, but also just within our state. And I believe I read about last week that there were 5 people that were arrested for this sort of activity and they weren't all in one community or one town. So again, the idea of literally joining forces to fight this is the only way that we would ever hopefully reduce it. I doubt we'd ever stop it, but we could sure reduce it.
Rob?
I guess I'm curious, if you look over the last 10 years as a baseline, the extent of the problem, have you seen, what kind of level of increase have you seen, and level of arrest have you seen?
Is that for me?
Good
evening.
That's technical.
I've been with the Casa Grande Police Department almost 11 years. I've been a detective for 8. So I've been investigating sex crimes for the past 8 years. As far as the number of child pornography cases, sexual exploitation of a minor, we touch on probably, I would say 2 to 3 per month, say maybe 3 per month. And that includes anything from just sexting to the more serious cases of child exploitation. So I would say about an average of 3 per month is what we get. I've arrested prison guards. The FBI came down, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with the case. We arrested a CPA a couple of years ago. There's teachers and lawyers, and we've arrested kind of everybody across the spectrum. It is a major problem. One guy that we arrested had 800,000 images on his computer, if that gives you any perspective. So having this grant money we work the cases now, but the money provided by ICAC would certainly help us become more efficient and put more people away, because it is there. It's not going away, and we can't possibly catch every single person, but any assistance will be helpful.
Now, to answer your question, Councilman Vela, I didn't bring my statistic with us. We do report this to the FBI, but I can tell you, over the years it has increased. And as we become more aware and more specialized in this field, unfortunately, we're going to be able to catch more, which is a good thing, but more of that's going to become aware to us. So there is a steady incline. It's just a matter of us catching up to it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your time.
All right. So I'll call for a resolution, please, on I-2.
Resolution number 5116, a resolution of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the Phoenix Police Department, Arizona Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, and the City of Casa Grande Police Department for the purpose of assisting the Arizona Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of resolution number 5116 as presented.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember McBride?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson?
Yes.
Councilmember Varela?
Yes?
Councilmember Powell?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman?
Yes.
Mayor McFarland?
Yes. Okay. There are no boards and commission reports. Item K, ordinance, resolutions, and other matters for the council. Item K1 is a resolution approving a re-subdivision of portion of the following. Mr. Tice?
Thank you. Mayor McFarland, members of council, K1 is a approval of a subdivision plat, actually a re-subdivision plat for a project known as the Nauvoo Assisted Living Center. The site is shown on your screen, and it's really a classic infill site. As you can see from the image on the screen, it's surrounded by development, and it's sort of tucked away. I'm kind of excited that the fact that it's going to be proposed for development, and a development that works quite well for this challenging site. The site is, the biggest challenge to the site is the access, and the access to the property will be off a couple of the residential streets in Parkview subdivision. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. There's another interesting aspect of this subdivision is that as we processed it, we realized there was a right-of-way that had been platted previously that you can see is the red line that went all the way from the south boundary of this street all the way up to Florence Boulevard. And that was a 40-foot right-of-way originally for a street that was apparently planned at some point in the past, but really can no longer be used because where it intersects Florence Boulevard, it intersects right at that right turn lane and very close to that other entrance. So that road can't be used, and in fact, our research indicated that the eastern 20 feet of that road was vacated as those other developments occurred east of it. With this particular subdivision, we'll be requesting to vacate the remaining 20 feet of the western part of that right-of-way adjacent to this site. So the actual plat is a two-lot subdivision to accommodate a small group home for elderly care. There would be two buildings, one on each of the lots. The subdivision is about 2 acres, so each of those lots would be about 1 acre. And you can see highlighted in green the right-of-way that I described that is proposed to be abandoned and incorporated into the site development, although that right-of-way will be retained as a utility easement because there is a sewer main in that right-of-way, and Arizona Water will be constructing a water main in there, so it will be retained as a utility easement, but incorporated into this lot's ownership and designed to be part of the landscape buffer. The access to the site for the subdivision comes from Valerie Street to the south. You can see that that's the primary access, and in addition to providing access to these two lots, there is going to be a 20-foot access easement extending along that south boundary of Lot 1 to the parcel to the west. We did identify there was a parcel to the west that is essentially landlocked. It's a very small parcel, has limited development rights or development potential, but we did want to make sure that it was provided with access. From Christina Street, there will only be emergency access to this development. So you can see here the access easement for that we described. This re-subdivision, and it is a re-subdivision of a very old subdivision, the Granada Fig Farms. It's portions of some older lots that were platted some time ago. This re-subdivision does conform to the preliminary plat that was approved by the Planning Commission, and it conforms to all design standards and requirements of the subdivision regulations. Accordingly, city staff recommends that the mayor, city council approve this re-subdivision final plat.
Haven't we seen this before?
But the 20-foot, that easement there is they kind of discovered something new.
Okay, so that's why it's,
So it's got to come back because we're replatting it. Is that not correct, Mr. Tice?
You know, you did see this before, but in a different context. I
Yeah,
can't
it
really recall, but it wasn't
We
for the
did.
final plat approval.
We hadn't gotten the final
Because the
yet.
final plat is just now coming through the
okay.
process.
I know we've seen this before.
But Planning Commission did approve the major site plan and the conditional use permit for this as well.
Okay. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
I've seen it
And
before.
it's good you find it now than later.
Okay.
This is, access easement will get you onto the interior roundabout, right?
The interior roundabout.
This is their
This way?
access right
Yeah.
here.
Well, sort of. What it really does, the yellow access easement is just a direct shot to provide access to that parcel to the west that's very narrow. It's about 100 feet wide, and it goes,
All the way up.
it goes, it's north along the entire boundary of this development and continues north. I can show you in another screen what that does.
It was in the earlier screen.
Yeah, I'll go
Yeah.
back up to it and I'll show it to you. So in the aerial, we can see it pretty well, I think.
There you go.
There you go. So you can see that very narrow property to the west of the site that's landlocked? That's what that access easement provides access to that. And that reminds me that I now recall where you saw this before. It was a zone change. This was zoned urban ranch and had to be rezoned to R2 to allow this development. So you didn't see the plat, but you saw the zone change.
And none of the neighbors had a problem.
And
And
we held neighborhood meetings and,
Yep.
planning commission's
good.
held several public hearings on this.
just out of curiosity, isn't there sometimes a little bit so, and it's nice to see this infill coming in, but now we've got these little pockets of areas in our city, and is there ever some kind of encouragement maybe to get this person maybe to purchase that little thing to the west, or somehow?
We talked about that already, too.
We did try to put the property owners together
Oh,
to
okay.
discuss that. It was unsuccessful.
Okay.
But they're kind of talking
Okay, good.
again, and so there may still be the ability for
Oh, okay,
for
good.
that to happen.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from anybody? None. Okay, seeing none, then, Matt, any question from you?
Nope, I read it, thank you.
Okay. So can I get a resolution for item K1, please? Gloria?
Resolution number 2825.204. A resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, approving a re-subdivision of a portion of lots 15, 18, and 19, Block 7 of Granada Fig Farms, Unit Number 2, through an amendment to the final plat and affirming original requirements for completion of subdivision improvements.
Mayor McFarland, I move for the adoption of resolution number 2825.204 as presented.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote on item K2, please?
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
I'm sorry, K1, let me rephrase that. Sorry.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Varela.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. Okay, now to item K2. You don't look like Selena.
Yeah. It's maybe somebody else.
A little hair change.
I'm filling in. Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, staff is making a recommendation to adopt the primary and secondary property tax for fiscal year 19. The primary rate has been reduced very slightly to 0.9999 from 0.9999 to 0.9905 in order to hold our levy, which is the amount that we expect to collect constant compared to fiscal year 18. And the secondary property tax rate is going to remain the same at 0.6010. The primary property tax rate will generate a projected $3,500,000
$572,996, which will be used for which will be used by the general fund for general operating expenses, while the secondary rate will generate a projected $2,130,500, and those funds are designated to pay debt service on the voter authorized general obligation debt that we have. So the combined property tax rate for fiscal year 19 will come in at $1.59 per $100 of assessed value, and will generate a total of $5,703,496. And this is coinciding with the budget that we adopted last meeting. And so with that, I'd be glad to take any questions.
So no changes.
So just on the primary rate, it's dropping very, very slightly, just so that we can keep our levy the same and not trigger truth in taxation. And the difference is very, very small, only $37,000.
So you're saying we took it down?
We did, but we're going to collect the same amount.
I know. I'm just okay. Anybody else have any questions?
No, no
Oh,
questions.
good.
None.
Okay. All right, seeing no questions then, I would like to call for an ordinance number, please, Gloria.
Ordinance number
A2. Sorry.
3086, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, levying upon the assessed valuation of property within the city of Casa Grande, subject to taxation, a certain sum upon each $100 of valuation, sufficient to raise the amount estimated to be required in the annual budget, less the amount estimated to be received from fines, licenses, and other sources of revenue, providing funds for various bond redemptions for the purpose of paying interest upon bonded indebtedness, and providing a general fund for general municipal expenses, all for fiscal year ending the 30th day of June 2019.
Mayor McFarland, I move for approval of ordinance number 3086 as presented.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote for item K2, please?
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortzen.
Yes.
Councilmember Varela.
Yes?
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right. That pretty much concludes tonight's business. We have one more item here to cover. There are no public hearings, no executive session tonight, so we'll move to item N, reports. And Lisa, we'll start over with you.
Oh, good. Well, I know Councilmember Varela said that he was waiting this week, but him and I both went to a conference a couple weeks ago. It was the National Association of Latino Elected Officials, and it was actually a great conference, and I think it came at a perfect time because, we just got done with the whole strategic planning, and it was interesting how all the topics were pretty much right where we are. So it made us feel really good, and we were just so excited. Sometimes you get a little tired when you go to those, but literally we were so excited when we went to each one of the sessions because it really applied to many of the issues that we've addressed in our plan. So I told him I would kind of go over a couple, and then he can go over a couple, but, and I know Larry sent an email and kind of told you guys, so I won't go into too much detail, but, the first one was, of course, pension fund management and the importance of it. We all know that, and it's something that's always going to be an issue. But I think the key takeaways, of course, were making sure that we're developing a good pension stability fund and what, a future plan for the contributions. So Larry, we all talked a little bit about, some ideas of what we can do there. As far as smart cities, of course, that's a key issue, and we were excited to see that, we as a city are really ahead of many cities. I mean, these were elected officials from all over the country at all different levels. And, we were happy when we saw the many things that we're doing with solar, with our LED lighting. Many cities don't have any of this stuff. But, we, of course, need to work on, improving our energy portfolio, making sure that we're, promoting it and showing community members how to, show them what energies and stuff they're using in their homes. So, of course, that was a great session. But there's, of course, improvement. One is to provide Wi-Fi, more Wi-Fi in public places, and one thing is maybe putting routers on street lights and stuff like that. So that was the smart cities. And then the third one was the broadband access. And, I know this has been a topic and, on our strategic planning. And Mary, I know that's something that you really talked a lot about, but it's not so much just providing, access, but affordable access, but just making sure that we're actually putting a plan together. I mean, they talk about, we should be actually putting an actual, what did they call it, a broadband strategy. And it's just as important as any other infrastructure. It's such a critical thing, and education came up so much, Councilmember Powell. We talk about partnering in education, and pretty much in all of these breakout sessions, they talked about how important it is for us as a city to partner with education. So, and this whole broadband thing, of course, it was a Latino elected official conference, but these are issues that are citywide, and it affects the quality of life of all of our employees. But when you have, I know the elementary school district has 74% Latino students. Judy Jackson just told me, and many of these students do not have access. And so we as a city need to put a strategy together on where we're going to provide more, internet, accessibility. So it was really fascinating. Broadband USA were the ones that did the presentation, and they have many resources that can help us as we move forward on that. And then you're going to cover a couple of the other things, but one other thing that I gave to Larry was a program called Code Phoenix, and I know Larry said he's going to try to, get it, look into putting something similar to this in our community center. But it's basically engaging the youth in STEM and robotics, and they have a program that's internet-based, and students can come in and have access to this program. Phoenix is doing it in their community centers and their libraries, and giving these young people opportunities to learn on their own. But then they have some community member or city staff helping navigate through it. So those were the few things, and I know Ralph is going to cover a couple of the other ones that we had. But before we move on, we're also part of the Latino Familia Initiative. They're going to have their Hispanic Leadership Institute coming up starting in September on Wednesdays. And if anyone's interested, Valle del Sol, on their website, they have the application. It's not just for Latino, members, community members. If you're just want to participate and interested on, the population and key issues, it's a great class. It's a 10-week course, and I think that's it for me.
Ralph?
The three areas that we covered was, the first one was economic stability and sustainability, and one of the first things they looked at is that in terms of a city council, it's important that there's a stable political landscape, because a lot of city councils that don't have stability really struggle in terms of looking at economic sustainability for the city. Also, good staff, which we're very blessed to have. And when I looked at them, I was going through this check mark thing, and I'm thinking, wow, we're in good standing. Use what you have in terms of strategic location and other things, incentives when necessary. Use existing businesses to leverage for getting new businesses coming in. I think the existing businesses are some of our best ambassadors that we have for our city. Economic corridors, employment centers. They talked a lot about transit, how important that is, and then being able to expedite the permit process when possible. And that all of those help in terms of economic sustainability. The second one was the opioid epidemic, and really interesting and sad because they're looking at 115 deaths every day related to opioid addiction, and something that I didn't know in terms of nearly half of them are related to fentanyl, and so how important that is. They talked about it's important to gather data from local police department and fire, because they're the first responders, so they have that the data availability. to develop a local initiative and the city as a partner. And when I looked at the homeless partnership that there is now, in terms of how important that would be, there's 2 million that are addicted to opioids at this point in time. And they talked about the three-legged stool, which is prevention, treatment, and then law enforcement. And also the importance of reducing the stigma related to substance abuse and how it impacts we were just talking about this earlier, how it impacts our workforce, our families, our resources, and public safety. And the last one was the 2020 census, and of course the importance of ensuring that all our residents are counted, because that's the data that they use to allocate funds at the state and federal level. So if we're to get our share, our fair share, we need to make sure that our census is accurate and is utilized.
County too.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And also to develop a census committee that uses the churches, the city, nonprofits, community groups, similar to what we did 10 years ago. And also, they looked at the cities allocating funds and assigning staff that help push this forward. And I think the final thing, totally different. I just would be remiss if I didn't say, Palmer, just thank you for your dedication and your passion. There's a little bit of history to everything we've done with veterans, and that was about 2 years ago. If you know Palmer, he's very shy, so I couldn't get anything out of him. No, not really. He told me how important it was for us to do things for veterans, and this was really one of the many things that the city has done, but bringing it forward to our consciousness was really important, Palmer, and I truly appreciate what both of you do. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Mine's going to seem very pedestrian compared to these two. I had the honor the other night to take a basketball and present it to the Casa Grande Union High School District at their meeting. Cecil Kinzer and U.R. Neely, who had a funeral this week, or last Saturday, had given so much to the team that they gave them a signed ball. And so I called Randy Robbins. Cecil's had a foot operation and couldn't be there, but I gave it on their part. And it was very meaningful. He had a nephew that was an outstanding basketball player, died in his early 30s. He went to the U of A to play and just had a horrendous thing. His name's on there. 2 of his other nephews are on there. And so many of the ones he knew were on that ball. And so it was the team from 1989. And Randy Robbins, I said, want to catch it? He said, no, I just catch those oblong balls. I don't catch those round ones. But he was happy to get it, and he's questionably the most talented professional athlete we've ever had to leave Casa Grande High School. Mm-hmm. And so he was very humble and happy about it, and it was fun to do. And I told him it was ironic that I think the only team that won before that was my senior class team, and they beat Camelback to win the state back in 1961.
Oh, okay, now we know how.
Let's do the math.
Is that it?
That's it, yeah.
Mary?
They're making fun of me.
No. So as you can tell, I was really enthusiastic about the Arizona at Work presentation. You know, I know it's been here in the community. I knew what it did and that. I just didn't realize the breadth of what it entailed and how we can all be such a big part of it, and that, and again, you, Lisa, had brought up the idea of broadband, and that there's a component in there, they were talking about, doing the online job searches and that sort of thing, bring it home again to that. And that was, what you said too, as far as doing an infrastructure plan, we need to, 5G's coming, and a lot of folks had already, because 5G, because of the way it is and the scientific part of it, and Paul, you can help with this, is the idea that it's shorter spaces. So right now we have big towers and we can get up to 4G. Something, the scientific part of the 5G, you can't do that. It's going to be shorter spaces in it. So as we build our neighborhoods and our master plan developments, as we do our streets and that, it's finding other ways that we can do this and making them more efficient, more available. I have to think they're going to look a little bit better than some. We can, we can camouflage them a little bit better. So again, that was, it continues to, the importance of having that available. One question I did have also on is, where is Arizona sitting? Do you know on that census question that seems to be dividing a lot of people? That's up to the governor. Is that not correct, to not have that question? That's in Arizona.
No.
No, it isn't?
No, it's a national,
Okay.
as far as if you're a
Where
citizen.
are we at on that? Because I think that would so negatively impact. When I was in DC, that was a huge topic of
We have that on our
conversation.
agenda.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't,
I'll tell you after.
okay. It wasn't a decision between us. I was just wondering, I wanted public information. Okay. Fine.
Is that in there?
And that's all I have to say.
You're welcome that back.
Yeah, pedal back.
Just a couple quick things. Larry had mentioned before about the Pinal County Town Hall coming up in October, and several people have asked what the topic is, and as vice chair of that, I hope that everybody thinks about going this year, because it's actually, the title is Let's Be Civil, Promoting Positive Communication. And it's going to be about how small businesses and individuals can really help themselves in the world that we live in today. And we have local, state, and national speakers coming in, a national speaker and one of the executives from one of the airlines. And if anybody knows how to deal with irate customers, it's them. So we're already taking, people, and we're probably going to sell out really fast.
And what's the date on that?
It's October 18th at Ropes and Ranch. A couple of quick kudos. Community service staff, 4th of July was a great event. I will say this, a lot of people go, well, it wasn't that bad because it's 6:30 at night, but our staff is out there all day long setting up, and it was really hot. So, Steve, please congratulate your staff. We also had 14 local dancers that were at Disneyland this weekend and performed representing Casa Grande. And then I also wanted to mention the name Katie Bender-Vasquez came up as somebody that's going to be involved with our shop local. And if I'm right, she was also involved in our youth commission at one time. So it kind of goes back to tell you some of the things that the city offers is really important. And lastly, I just wanted to say thank you to Palmer. As a mother of a son that served 4 years in Iraq, I will tell you that when I look at your paintings, they are full of emotion for me. And I know the work you do is because you love it and because your dedication to veterans past, present, and future. So thank you very much. And that's it.
Hey, Matt, you have anything you want to add?
I just wanted to say, I'm sorry I can't be there with you guys, but thank you for waiting for me and indulging in this call-in. I know it's not as easy to do. We did get the holiday in for the Youth Commission retreat the first part of next month, so we're excited about that. And just to reiterate, Palmer Miller, thank you tonight for the presentation and all that you do for the veterans in town. And one more thing I learned tonight is the video is about 1.5 minutes behind the live audience. Watching you guys. Apologize for the inconvenience. proud to be tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Matt. So my list, I have a couple things. First of all, I want to call out a couple people who are here tonight. I want to call out to Chief Miller and congratulations. I think it was in the newspaper, but congratulations, Chief, on your recognition by your peers for a Lifetime Achievement Award. So congratulations. I also want to call out Mr. Richard Wilkie because Richard's going to be leaving us here, and I want to just make sure you stay safe and you come back, all right?
Absolutely.
So thank you for your service. Last week, I had an opportunity to meet with the KHUV people that came back in they're the builder out at Villago, and we did find out that based on their sales of homes out there, that they actually have purchased all the remaining lots in Villago. So all of the current infrastructured lots have all been purchased by K, and I shorten it to KHUV because I can never say the last part of the name, but that's good. That's good news. Also last week, I was able to attend a couple of League of Cities Policy Committee meetings, and was able to get the I-10 corridor put on the League of Cities agenda that'll be considered at our upcoming meeting in August for the Arizona League of Cities. And also the next day, another committee, there are two different committees, I was able to get them to produce a resolution in favor of moving forward to try and go after the online sales tax. So I know that may not sit well with people who buy a lot of stuff online, but it's very important for the cities because it's really kind of is our lifeline is sales tax. If we don't collect it all, then we won't be able to give you all the nice services that you currently get. Had a grand opening on Friday of the Joint Chiropractic. It's right between the Thirsty Donkey and the car wash, if you know where that is on Florence.
Good looking.
So if you get a chance, go in there. It's actually a really, really nice location, very nice inside. They do take walk-ins, so again, another new business here in town. Just want to make sure we promote it. The RTA lawsuit is this week. The first hearing will be heard on the 18th. It's going to be against the Goldwater Institute, or I should say we are up against the Goldwater Institute in the county. Mr. Christian Price, the mayor of Maricopa, and myself will both be at the hearing, so we'll be there to represent the city of Casa Grande and hopefully prevail. I also want to remind everybody that Mr. Powell has a meet and greet on Wednesday the 18th at Bedillion's 6 o'clock. So if you want to meet the candidate, make sure you go over there and see Mr. Powell. That's this Wednesday the 18th.
Thank you.
And the other thing is, I just wanted to make a comment because I read all of the candidates' articles that the Dispatch. And thank you, Heather, for putting those in and kind of giving everybody an opportunity to kind of get to know the candidates. But one thing, one of the questions that she covered was, what do we think about staff? And I think staff, in every single comment of every candidate, all got A+ rating. At least that's my view of their comments. So I just want to say thank you, Larry, because you guys do a great job, and I know we don't say thank you enough, so thank you.
Excellent.
Okay, that's all I have. Is there anything else, Larry?
No, sir. Yep. Yes. No.
Can I just adjourn it? Okay, council meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.